Karen's hands shook as she connected the last wire to the pool's metal railing at 3 a.m. The security lights were off, she had made sure of that. Tomorrow, when those noisy Smith children grabbed the rails to climb into the water, they would get the shock of their lives. Karen smiled in the darkness. No more splashing. No more screaming. No more children. Before watching full video, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Karen Miller moved into the Sunny Pines community last month. She quickly became the head of the Homeowners Association, HOA. Karen had gray hair always pulled back tight and wore expensive clothes. She spoke with a sharp voice that made people nervous. Karen hated two things more than anything: noise and children. Unfortunately for everyone, her new house sat right next to the community swimming pool. Every splash, laugh, and shout from the pool reached her windows. On her first day as HOA head, Karen called an emergency meeting. "This pool situation is out of control," she announced to the neighbors. "Children are screaming all day long. I can't even hear my TV." The next morning, new pool rules appeared on a big sign. No splashing. No shouting. No running. No pool toys. Children must be quiet. Pool hours, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. only. Families were shocked. The pool had always been a fun place where kids could play freely, especially during hot summer days. Now Karen watched from her window with binoculars, writing down the names of anyone who broke her rules. "This is just the beginning," Karen told her cat as she sipped tea on her porch. "Soon I'll have complete peace and quiet." One sunny Saturday morning, a moving truck pulled up to the empty house across from Karen's. The Smith family had arrived: Mom Sarah, Dad Mike, and their 3 energetic children, twins Tommy and Timmy age 8, and little Emma age 6. The children ran around the front yard, laughing and chasing each other while their parents unloaded boxes. Karen watched from her window, frowning deeply. "More children," she muttered. "Just what we need." The very next day, Sarah Smith took her kids to the community pool during the allowed hours. The children jumped in with excited screams, splashing and playing with the new friends they'd already made in the neighborhood. "Mom, this pool is awesome," shouted Tommy, doing a cannonball that sent water flying. Karen, who had been trying to take her afternoon nap, woke up to the sounds of laughter. She stormed out to her backyard in her bathrobe. "Excuse me," she yelled over the fence. "There is no splashing allowed in this pool. Can't you read the sign?" Sarah Smith looked surprised. "I'm sorry, but they're just children having fun. They're not doing anything dangerous." That night, Karen couldn't sleep. The Smith children had broken at least 5 of her pool rules in one day. She spent hours writing a detailed letter calling for an emergency HOA meeting. 3 days later, the meeting room at the community center was packed with families. Karen stood at the front, her presentation ready. "I propose a new rule," she announced. "No children under 12 allowed in the pool at any time. They are too noisy and disruptive." Gasps filled the room. Mike Smith stood up. "That's ridiculous. This is a family community. Our kids have the right to use the pool." Other parents nodded in agreement. When the vote came, it was 14-1 against Karen's proposal. Only Karen had voted for the ban. "This isn't over," Karen said, gathering her papers as the meeting ended. Her face was red with anger. "If you won't protect my right to peace and quiet, I'll find another way." As Karen stormed out, Sarah Smith whispered to her husband, "I think we've made an enemy." The day after the HOA meeting, Karen went to work. She hired a security company to install 4 high-definition cameras around the pool area. Each camera pointed at different angles, catching every corner of the pool. She had a special monitor set up in her living room where she could watch everything day and night. "Perfect," Karen smiled, watching the screens. "Now I'll catch them all." The Smith children went swimming the next afternoon. Little Emma forgot the rules and ran around the edge of the pool. 5 minutes later, there was a loud knock at the Smith's door. "This is your first official warning," Karen said, handing Sarah a paper. "Your daughter was running. That's a $50 fine." Sarah looked shocked. "For running? She's 6 years old." "Rules are rules," Karen replied coldly, pointing to the camera on the pool fence. "I have video evidence." 2 days later, Tommy splashed his brother during a game. Another $50 fine. The next week, Timmy brought a small rubber duck to the pool, $75 for an unauthorized pool toy. By the end of the month, the Smiths had received 8 violation notices totaling over $500. Other families weren't spared either. The Johnsons got fined when their teenager stayed in the pool until 4:05 p.m. The Garcia family received a notice when their son laughed too loudly. Karen kept careful records of every violation, complete with timestamps and video clips. Parents started talking to each other about the situation. At the grocery store, in driveways, and through text messages, neighbors shared their frustration about Karen. "She's gone power crazy," said Mrs. Wilson, who had lived in Sunny Pines for 20 years. "We've never had problems until she moved in." Karen noticed people giving her dirty looks and whispering when she walked by. She didn't care. At the next HOA meeting, only half the usual number of residents showed up. Many had given up fighting her. "Since you all refuse to follow simple rules," Karen announced, "I'm considering closing the pool completely for the rest of the summer for maintenance issues." Several parents gasped. "You can't do that." Mike Smith protested. "Summer just started." Karen smiled coldly. "As HOA president, I can declare the pool unsafe. Unless behavior improves dramatically, that's exactly what I'll do." As the meeting ended, Sarah Smith watched Karen walking away with her perfect posture and tight smile. "She's enjoying this," Sarah whispered to her husband. "She's actually enjoying making everyone miserable." That night, children throughout Sunny Pines went to bed sad, worried their beloved pool would be taken away forever. The next Saturday was especially hot. Despite Karen's threats, the Smith children begged their parents to let them swim. Sarah and Mike finally agreed, thinking that with so many other families at the pool, Karen wouldn't single them out. But when the Smith kids jumped into the pool with a splash, Karen was watching. She stormed out of her house, waving her arms. "That's it," she screamed, her face turning dark red. "I've given you chance after chance. Now you'll see what happens when you ignore my rules." Karen marched back inside and slammed her door so hard that her windows shook. She paced around her living room, muttering to herself. On her security monitors, she could see the Smith children still playing, ignoring her outburst. "They think they can laugh at me? In my own community?" Karen whispered. She sat down at her computer and typed, "How to keep people away from swimming pool." Most results suggested normal things like covers and fences. But then Karen found a dark corner of the internet where someone mentioned that a little electricity would keep anyone away. Her eyes widened. "That's it," she said, a strange smile forming on her face. "They'll learn their lesson once and for all." For the next 3 days, Karen watched videos about electrical wiring. She took careful notes and made a shopping list. On Tuesday morning, she drove 2 towns over where nobody would recognize her and bought everything she needed: wires, electrical tape, switches, and a power converter. That night, Karen waited until 2 a.m. when all the houses were dark. She slipped out her back door wearing all black clothes and carrying her supplies in a dark backpack. The security cameras that normally watched the pool had been turned off. She had the password after all. Working quickly with a small flashlight between her teeth, Karen connected wires to the metal handrails that children used to climb in and out of the pool. She ran the wires under the concrete edge where nobody would notice them, all the way to a bush where she hid the power box. "Perfect," she whispered, testing the connections one last time. The setup was simple. When she flipped the switch, electricity would flow through the metal rails. Not enough to kill, she told herself, just enough to give a painful shock that would scare those awful Smith kids away forever. As she crept back home, Karen checked her weather app. Tomorrow would be 95 degrees, the hottest day of the year. The Smith children would definitely come swimming. She set an alarm for early morning and went to bed, smiling as she imagined the lesson they were about to learn. The next morning dawned bright and hot, just as predicted. Karen woke up early and peered through her blinds. No one was at the pool yet. Perfect timing. She made herself a cup of coffee and settled into her lawn chair behind the bushes, the power switch hidden in her pocket. Meanwhile, Sarah Smith was hanging laundry in her backyard when something caught her eye. A thin black wire peeked out from beneath the concrete around the pool. It hadn't been there yesterday. "That's strange," she murmured, walking closer to investigate. As she followed the wire with her eyes, she noticed more of them, partially hidden but visible if you were looking carefully. They all seemed to connect to the metal railings of the pool. Sarah felt a chill despite the morning heat. Something wasn't right. She remembered that Jerry Alvarez, 3 houses down, worked as an electrician. Without wasting time, she called him. "Jerry, I'm sorry to bother you so early, but could you come look at something by the pool? There are wires that weren't there before." Within 5 minutes, Jerry arrived with his toolbox. He knelt by the pool edge, examining the setup with growing concern on his face. "Sarah, this is dangerous," he said quietly. "Someone has rigged the railings to deliver an electric shock. If anyone touched these while wet." He didn't finish the sentence. Jerry carefully followed the wires to the bush where the power box was hidden. "Call the police right now," he instructed, his voice deadly serious. This could have killed someone. Sarah's hands shook as she dialed 911. From her hiding spot, Karen watched with growing frustration. The Smith woman and that handyman were ruining everything. She hadn't expected anyone to notice her work before the children arrived. She'd have to act fast. Karen reached for the switch in her pocket. One quick flip and they'd get a small shock, just enough to scare them away before they could disconnect anything. They'd never prove it was her anyway. Just as her finger touched the switch, a firm hand gripped her shoulder. "Ma'am, don't move," said a stern voice. Karen looked up to see two police officers standing over her. One had a hand on his weapon. "Karen Miller, we need you to come with us," the officer said, taking the switch from her hand. "You're under arrest for attempted assault with a deadly weapon." "This is ridiculous. I wasn't doing anything," Karen protested as the officers handcuffed her. Neighbors began emerging from their homes, watching in shock as Karen was led to the police car. Sarah Smith stood by the pool, her hand over her mouth. The officers found Karen's fingerprints all over the wiring and the receipt for electrical supplies in her pocket. As the police car drove away, one officer explained to the gathering crowd just how deadly the trap could have been. 3 days after Karen's arrest, every resident of Sunny Pines gathered in the community center. The room was packed. People even stood along the walls because all chairs were taken. The mood was somber but determined. "I still can't believe what almost happened," said Mr. Johnson, the temporary HOA president. "The police report confirms that the electrical setup Karen installed could have been deadly, especially to children or anyone with heart problems." On the projector screen behind him, everyone could see the headline from the local newspaper: HOA president charged with attempted murder, electrified pool to keep children away. The article explained that Karen was being held without bail, facing multiple serious charges. "She told police she just wanted to teach those noisy kids a lesson," Mr. Johnson continued, shaking his head. "The prosecutor says she could face up to 20 years in prison." A hand went up from the back. Was Mike Smith. "I'd like to say something if that's okay." He walked to the front, looking nervous but determined. "What Karen did was horrible, but maybe this is a chance for all of us to start fresh. My family is new here, and we want Sunny Pines to be a place where everyone feels welcome, children and adults alike." Sarah Smith joined her husband. "We've written a draft of new pool rules that we hope balance everyone's needs. Children deserve to play and have fun, but we also understand that some people need quiet time too." The Smiths handed out copies of their proposal: longer pool hours with specific times set aside for adult swimming and quiet enjoyment. Children would be allowed to play and make noise during family hours, but there would also be rules about respect and safety. One by one, neighbors stood up to add suggestions. Mrs. Garcia proposed a rotating schedule of parent volunteers to supervise on weekends. Mr. Wilson offered to install a small fence to help block noise from reaching nearby houses. Even teenagers offered to help teach swimming lessons for the younger kids. By the end of the meeting, everyone had agreed on the new rules. The community also voted to use HOA funds to install proper safety equipment and comfortable seating around the pool area. The following Saturday, families gathered for a pool reopening party. Sarah and Mike Smith brought homemade cookies and others brought drinks and snacks. Children splashed and played during the designated family time, while adults chatted and got to know each other better. "You know," said Mrs. Wilson to Sarah, "in all my 20 years here, I've never seen the neighborhood this united. It took something terrible to bring us together, but now I feel like I know my neighbors for the first time." As summer continued, the pool became the heart of Sunny Pines. The Smith children made many new friends, and Sarah and Mike became respected community leaders. Sometimes people would mention Karen, but mostly as a reminder of how one person's cruelty had accidentally created something beautiful, a truly connected neighborhood where everyone looked out for each other. The metal railings that Karen had tried to electrify were replaced with colorful plastic ones, and a new sign appeared by the pool entrance: "Welcome to our community pool, a safe place for everyone."